Hi guys, this is Neil Davis from Digital Cloud Training. The AWS Certified SysOps Administrator Associate was always the hardest of the associate level AWS certs. It's just got a bit harder, and the reason being is AWS just released a new version of the exam on the 27th of July. The SOA-C02 replaces the CO1. You cannot take the CO1 anymore. And the new version of the exam has an AWS Exam Labs component. That's a hands-on piece to the exam. You have to go into an AWS console and actually configure the environment according to a scenario that you're presented with. Now that's completely new for AWS. They've never done it before. Of course, many other vendors do. Now I'll talk more about the Exam Labs in a moment. Let's just cover off the main changes to the exam. The exam is now 180 minutes long, so it's a bigger undertaking than the previous version of the exam. Now there are two components to the exam. The first is the multi-choice section. You get 50 questions and it accounts for 80% of the score of the exam. The questions themselves are not too dissimilar to what you're used to. They're just multiple choice questions. They're very similar to the questions that you're going to have seen in the previous version of the exam, but there are some new topics covered. There were some additional topics that I saw in the beta exam, and the final exam had a few more as well. So you definitely need to make sure you have that knowledge before you take your exam. Now, the overall trickiness of the questions wasn't too great. I thought they weren't too difficult. As long as you have that knowledge, you'll be okay. I found the incorrect answers, the distractors, were often fairly obvious, which helped in eliminating those and ensuring you got the right answer. Once you finish your questions, you can move on to the Exam Labs section of the exam. Now, you can't go back, so make sure that you have given your best answers before you move on. The Exam Labs piece includes 3 different scenarios. So you're taken into the console 3 separate times, and each time you have a different scenario. There's about an hour allocated for this piece of the exam, so think about 20 minutes per exam lab. The Exam Labs section of the exam accounts for about 20% of your overall score. I found the Exam Labs in the final exam a bit more tricky than I did in the beta. So you've really got to have that operational knowledge. You've got to have worked with AWS in an operational context so that you've got that hands-on experience to be able to just go in and complete these labs. So in summary, the new version of the exam is a big step up in difficulty from the previous version. You've really got to have that hands-on experience, and you've got to make sure that you've studied the additional topics that are now coming up that weren't included in the previous version of the exam. I highly recommend that you do the Solutions Architect Associate and the Developer Associate before you tackle the SysOps. Unless you've got that on-the-job SysOps experience, it's really going to help you to do those other associate level certifications first. The extra knowledge is super useful. So what are we doing to update our courses to make sure that you can prepare properly? Well, we've already added some brand new practice questions that cover the latest topics. There's a whole bunch more coming very soon as well. So at the time of recording, this is a couple of days after the release of the exam. I did want to make sure I did the final exam, and I'm glad I did because there were lots of new topics coming up there. So I'm going to now make sure that those are in our courses, but obviously there's a few days lag. So our video courses will also be updated with new lessons covering the new topics. So if you're watching this video soon after I release it, then make sure that you wait for those final updates to come through and give yourself a few days to actually complete the new lessons and the new practice tests before you actually sit your exam. If you're already enrolled in our courses, you'll see this content. You don't need to pay anything extra, so it will be there as soon as we release it. And finally, in the description of the video below, you'll find some links to articles and other resources on our website so you can get some more information about what to expect and how to prepare for your exam. Now, I wish you all the best if you're taking the exam soon, and please let us know if you have any feedback. We want to make sure we keep our courses up to date and help our community of students.